When you hear someone talk about PC gaming, what initially comes to mind? It's probably something like this, and not something like this. Now, if you're wondering why that is, it's pretty simple. PCs were mainly designed for work related tasks, but we all know all work and no play, well, you know how the saying goes. That is why today PC gaming platforms like Steam have over 30 million people playing online at this very moment. Now, if you like playing your games at a desk, more power to you. But for most of my life, I've been gaming on a standard television set, and I was by no means ready to give that up, even for a PC. And so I sought to come up with a setup that would allow me to continue gaming on my couch. And if you want to do the same, then this video is for you. So before we get started, I want to give a quick disclaimer. This guide will not show you how to optimize game settings, show you how to optimize the operating system, show you how to optimize video card settings, or go through the initial installation of all the applications in this guide. So what do you need to create the ultimate gaming PC for couch play? Well, obviously you need a mouse and keyboard to start off with, but there is an alternative that I personally recommend you purchase, and that is a wireless keyboard with touchpad combo. To my knowledge, there is no getting around using a mouse and keyboard at some point, and if you are someone who still wants to game on a mouse and keyboard, there are lab tests that are available, though the ones I've come across are a bit pricey to say the least. Now, if you're like me, you prefer to game on a gamepad or a joystick, and the great thing about PCs is they support several of them. The PS5 DualSense and Xbox One controllers are supported, but overall you want to make sure your controllers support X input before you buy one. For the operating system, I recommend Windows 10. While there are other choices that I'm aware of like SteamOS, which is built on the Linux Debian 8 OS, it is hard to ignore the compatibility and the support the Windows OS offers. Some applications and games do not have controller support, so you definitely want to keep this in mind when you're purchasing games to play. With that being said, there are some applications that can convert keyboard and mouse controls to the gamepad, and I'll put a few in the comment section below. Lastly, you will need a media player or front-end application. For this video, I'll be going over the ones that I personally am familiar with. Before we jump into using applications, I want to give you some steps for Windows 10 startup options. Unless you want to be met with the password screen for security reasons, you will want to make sure that it doesn't run on startup. To stop this from happening, press the Windows key or FN plus R to bring up the run window. Type in netpl whiz and press enter or click OK. If this worked, a window should appear and the options to enter a password should be checked. Uncheck this box, click apply and OK to close the window. Now you will not have to enter a password when starting up your PC. For certain applications that I'll be going over in this guide, you will need to start them up using a special location hidden within Windows 10. First, you want to create a shortcut for the application on the desktop if one has not already been created. This is usually as simple as locating the app in the Start menu and dragging and dropping it to the desktop like so. Once the shortcut has been created, press Window key or FN plus R to bring up the Run window, type in shell:startup and press enter or click OK. If it worked, a window should appear with the name startup showing at the top left-hand side. Simply drag and drop the desktop shortcut into this window, confirm the shortcut copied over, and close it. The next time you start Windows, it should automatically open the application. So let's get into using media player and front-end applications. The main objective of building a gaming PC for couch play, in my humble opinion, is to make it so you don't have to use a mouse and keyboard at every moment. I'm also of the opinion that you probably don't want to be starting at the desktop every time you load up your gaming PC, and after a while things can get pretty crowded and hard to find. This is where media players and front-end applications come into play. They can be set up to open during the startup process, you can launch all of your installed games from them, and most importantly, they have game controller support. The first application we'll go over is KODI. KODI is a media player application that was initially developed on the original Xbox, and as such is a great application for setting up your gaming PC for couch play. It has controller support, and you can also launch Windows 10 applications and games from within KODI, which is why I have it as a recommendation. Of course, KODI can do a lot more, and if you want to know what it can do, then by all means check out the video in the upper right hand corner. Now, in order to launch all Windows 10 games and applications from KODI, you will need to download a plugin known as the Advanced Emulator Launcher. A link to that plugin can be found in the comment box section below. After downloading the plugin, go to Settings, go to Add-ons, and choose Install from zip file. After this is selected, you may be met with a window letting you know that the add-ons from unknown source is disabled. Select Settings, turn on unknown settings, and hit backspace or the right mouse button to go back, and select Install from the zip file again. This time, a window should come up giving you access to your disk drives and network locations. Select your local disk drive, which is C in my case, go to Users, select your user folder, select Download, and select the Advanced Emulator Launcher plugin. If everything worked correctly, you'll get a notification that the Advanced Emulator Launcher has been installed. If we go back to Home, you should now see the plugin under both the Add-ons and Games section. Now let's set up Windows 10 apps. Open the plugin and right-click over ROM collections. This should bring up a context menu. Select Add New Launcher, select Standalone Launcher. This should bring up a window with your disk and network locations. For this example, I'm going to select a random Windows application located in my Program Files folder. I'll select the exe file and a new window titled Application Arguments will follow. Unless you have special arguments to add, you can just click OK, and this will take us to the next window where we can use the default name of the application or create a new name. After that, another window will come up requiring you to select a platform. Just scroll all the way to the bottom and select Unknown. If everything worked out, you will now see your application at the bottom and a notification letting you know it was successfully created. Now you can select it to see if it launches correctly. The Advanced Emulator Launcher is set up in such a way that it will go back to KODI after you have exited out of the game or application. As an additional tip, if you can't find the exe file for a game or application, you can drag and drop it from the Start menu to the desktop, creating a shortcut in the process. After that, reopen the Advanced Emulator Launcher, follow the previous steps for creating a new launcher, select your local drive, user, username folder, desktop, and select the program or app you want to add. Some of you may want to launch the application from the home screen of KODI. The default skin for KODI, known as Estuary, does not have a direct way to do this, but you can install a modified Estuary skin that will include a menu section for your created launchers. To do this, click on the second link I provided in the comment section. Select the green box labeled Code, select Download Zip. You will need a program like WinRAR in order to extract the downloaded file. After you have extracted the file, go into the location, remove master from the folder name, right-click over the folder, select Add to Archive, select Zip, and select OK. If everything was done correctly, you should have a new zip file titled skin.estuary.ael. Now go back to KODI, Settings, Add-on, Install from Zip, and open the zip file you just created. If successful, you should get a window asking if you want to switch to the skin. Select yes again to keep the changes, and this should take you back at the home menu. You may get a window asking you to download another add-on. While you do not have to, you may want to consider it, as it will continue asking you every time KODI opens. For this example, I'll select no. Now when we look at the menu, you should see 3 more sections added to the menu. Select AEL and you should see your created launchers. Bear in mind that you may have to close and reopen KODI after you've created a new launcher for it to be updated in this section. If you want to remove the other sections, it's as simple as going into the settings, selecting interface, and selecting configure skin. From there, you just have to select the section you want to turn off, and when you go back to your home menu, it will not be there. Now, if you want your launch applications to look more dignified, then you will need to download an image and save it to a preferred location on your hard drive. Once you have the image, right-click over the launcher to get the context menu. Select Edit Launcher. Select Edit Assets/Artwork. Select Edit Icon. Select Local Image, and select the image you downloaded to your preferred drive or network location. If everything worked, you should now see an icon with the downloaded image. After you have created all your preferred apps, all there is left to do is set up your controllers so that you can navigate KODI without your mouse and keyboard. First, make sure you have connected your preferred controller. Next, go to Settings, select Input, select Peripherals. If your controller has been detected, it will show up here. Selecting it will give you additional options as well. Once you've done, you can go back and go to Controller Configuration. You can start mapping your buttons by selecting the first face button, and it will automatically ask you to press the next button after. Once you have completed mapping your buttons, you should now be able to use your controller with KODI. One of the best things about using KODI is that it has different controller profiles that you can add. All you have to do is select the Get More option, and this gives you a list of those profiles to choose from. Once you set up a controller, the next time you plug it in, KODI will remember it, so it will not be necessary to remap your buttons. Make sure you put KODI in full screen, pressing the / key on your keyboard, and close KODI. Use the steps that I previously showed you for booting an application during startup in Windows, and you should be all set. Now, you might be thinking getting applications to launch through KODI is a pretty gargantuan task, and I do agree with this sentiment, which is why I have 2 more applications that you may want to consider. For the second application, I figured we'd go with something that you may be a little bit more familiar with, and that is Steam. Back in 2012, Steam released Big Picture Mode, and as you might have guessed, it was specifically designed for use with a TV. If you are like me and have been purchasing games from Steam's marketplace for more than a decade, then you have probably amassed a decent library, and so you at least have the convenience of not having to set up games to launch from your Steam library. But what about non-Steam games? Well, you'll be surprised to know that you can in fact add both non-Steam games and applications to Steam, and so I'll show you how to do that now. Click on the arrow pointing up on the bottom right corner of the taskbar. Doing this should bring up a box where the Steam app usually resides. Right-click over the icon. This should bring up a context menu. Select Library. Once the library window pops up, you want to look to the bottom left and select the plus sign icon next to Add Game. This will bring up another context menu. Select Add a non-Steam game. A small window should open after, and it will have generated a list of applications that you have installed on your computer. Select the games or applications you want to add and select Selected Programs. If all went according to plan, the window will close, bringing you back to the game library, and you just have to scroll down on your game list to see the games or applications that were added. Select the game and select Play to make sure it launches. That was pretty simple, wasn't it? After adding the games you prefer, I suggest plugging in your controller of choice if you have not already. Once you have, click on View in the top menu and select Picture Mode. If your controller is compatible with Steam, it may already work and you can start using it to navigate immediately. For this example, I'm using a PS5 DualSense controller, and as you can see, Steam has picked it up by showing me PlayStation buttons as a confirmation. For additional controller setup, you can go to the menu and select the controller option. This will allow you to change the game of the controller you are currently using and map inputs as well. Just like KODI, Steam will remember the different controllers you plug in. Now that you have set up your controller, the only thing left to do is to make sure it boots up to Big Picture mode when turning on your PC. To do this, exit out of Big Picture mode. Once the Steam window returns, select Steam in the top menu. Select Settings and select Interface. Turn on Start Steam in Big Picture mode and run Steam when my computer starts, and now you are all set the next time you start your PC. At this point, you might be saying to yourself, Big Picture mode is all I need. And if you only use Steam and a few other games that are installed on your PC, I would agree. But if you have purchased games using other platforms like the Epic Store or use any emulation applications I've covered on this channel, then you might be wondering if there's an application that can bring this all together and let you use your game controller to navigate through it all, which is why I saved LaunchBox for last. I think it's fair to say that LaunchBox is the most popular front-end application, and for good reason. Its continued development has led to it supporting several different game launchers and emulators while still allowing you to add things manually like the other applications I've already covered. More importantly though, is the special wizard it uses to categorize, collect game information, download video and pictures, and so much more. Unlike the other applications, LaunchBox actually has two applications in one. The first application, which is LaunchBox, is more suited for desktop, though it has controller support and is the primary way you set everything up. The second application is BigBox, and as you might have guessed, it is designed to be used with your TV. Now, BigBox is a premium application, which means a cost is associated with it. A regular license, which costs $30, will allow you to use BigBox forever, but in order to get new updates, you will have to renew your license after 1 year. There's also a forever license available for $75. Before you install and start LaunchBox, you are going to want to make sure you have installed all of your games from the various launchers that you have purchased them from. When starting up LaunchBox, you should see your installed games start to populate. The top menu bar may also be showing the progress of the games that are being scanned in. For this example, I have games that were installed from Steam, Amazon Games, GOG, and Epic, and can confirm that they all are available and ready to play. Moving forward, any new games you install will automatically be scanned in the next time LaunchBox opens. If you want to add a game manually from one of the launchers, click on Tools and hover your cursor over Import. This will create another drop-down menu where you can see a list of all the available launchers that work with LaunchBox. Selecting one of the platforms will start a special wizard that will take you through a few steps that can include signing into your account and selecting games you want to add to LaunchBox, whether installed or not. So already you are halfway there with your game library, but if you have emulators, then this is just the beginning. For this example, I will walk you through one of my favorite emulators, MAME. If you want to know more about MAME, please check out my video available at the top right. There are actually two ways to import MAME ROMs. One way requires a full set of MAME ROMs, and the other is the step that I'm going to take you through now. For those that want to be able to have access to different versions of the same game, I suggest either downloading or converting your MAME ROMs to non-merge ROMs using an application like CLR MAME Pro. You will also need to have the MAME emulator already installed. To start the import of your MAME ROMs, you want to once again click on the tools located at the top menu bar. Hover over Import for the drop-down menu and select ROM files. This will start a wizard for setting up the emulator and game ROMs. Click Next, then click Add Folder. Now you want to locate the folder that contains your MAME ROMs. Once you have opened the folder, click Select Folder, which will take you back to the previous window. Click Next. Now we have to select the platform for the games we are importing. The games that I'm importing for MAME are all arcade. Clicking on the down arrow to the right of the empty box will give you a drop-down list of platforms, and you have to select arcade and click Next. Now we have to choose an emulator. I already added the MAME emulator previously, but I will repeat the steps again. Click on Add. LaunchBox will automatically pre-populate MAME. Go to the Application Path section and click on Browse located to the right. This will bring up the file manager. Locate the mame.exe file, select it, and click Open. This to choose the file manager, and you should now see the generated path under the Application Path section. Click on OK. Confirm MAME is now showing and select Next to continue. Now you want to choose how you want your games to be copied or moved. If you are considering moving LaunchBox to a different device in the future, you may want to consider the first two options. Because I don't plan to move this to another device, I'm going to select Use the files in their current location. Next, it will ask you if you want to download metadata for your games. I suggest keeping search for game information in the local metadata database checked and just clicking Next to move forward. Now you can choose what images you'd like to download for your games. I'm going to keep everything checked and click Next. Now it will ask you if you want to download media from MU Movies. MU Movies houses a ton of video game snaps and images. You'll have to create an account at mumovies.com, and if you want to be able to sync all the video and images available through their service, you'll have to pay for a monthly, yearly, or lifetime subscription. If you plan to use BigBox, then subscribing to MU Movies is highly recommended. I've used the service many times before, and I have to say it was well worth it for saving the time I would have taken to capture and download images for all the games in my collection. Once you have completed your setup with MU Movies, select what images you would like to download for your games and click Next to go forward. Now you'll be asked if you want to download bezels from the Bezel project. Most arcade games don't use widescreen, and so bezels help to provide some nostalgia and an artistic flair to help brighten up the empty space. If you do not want to use bezels, click Next, but if you do, check Download Bezels and select what type of bezels you want to download. I already downloaded the bezels earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and move to the next step. Now you'll be asked to specify custom options. I'm going to keep the options that are checked by default and move to the next step. In the new window, you'll be asked if you would like to import your MAME games. Options like prioritizing the region, skipping certain game types, importing clones, and creating playlists are available here. If you're looking to play different versions of the same game, make sure to import all clones. Once you have selected your options, click Next and wait for game ROMs to scan. Once it has completed, you will see a list of games that are going to be imported. Here you can change the name of the game and remove games by selecting them and using the delete key on your keyboard. Once you're happy with your changes, click Finish. The games will now start to import and download videos and images. You can see the status bar in the top menu to see the progress. After the import is completed, you should now see a new platform category called Arcade and the games that you imported. You can go ahead and press play to see if your games are working. If you want to play a different version of the same game, you can right-click over the game to bring up a context menu, hover over the Play Next version, and select the version you would like to play. You will also find this option available in BigBox as well. Now that you have all the games you wanted added to LaunchBox, you want to set up your game controller for navigation. Before starting, make sure your controller is plugged in. Click on the tools in the top menu bar, then click Options. A new window should appear. Scroll down on the sidebar until you get to the game controllers and select it. This will bring up options on the right side window. Confirm that your device is under the Choose Device section. Once you see it, then check Enable Game Controllers. Now you can map the buttons on your controller. Go back to the sidebar and select Mappings. Once you select Mappings, button selections should now show up on the right side window. I recommend using the Clear option before using the Add option to ensure that buttons don't accidentally overlap each other. Once you have mapped all your preferred buttons to the control, press OK. You should now be able to start using your controller to navigate LaunchBox. In my case, I'm currently using the left analog stick to control the cursor. Bear in mind, if you use BigBox, you will have to select your controller and map your buttons again. It is also important to note that unlike Steam and KODI, LaunchBox does not create a profile for each controller you connect, which means you will have to now remap buttons for any controller you decide to connect, or figure out how the buttons are set up on the new controller. Now I'd like to take you through a few steps for BigBox. If you purchased and downloaded your license, go to the top right side of the window and click on Free Version. A new window will pop up, click on Browse. Locate your license, select it, and click Open. If everything worked out, you should get a confirmation that your license was applied, and your license name will show up at the top right hand of the screen. Once you confirm the license is working, you can now go to the menu located at the top left side and select BigBox. Now that we're in BigBox, I'm going to go ahead and set up my favorite theme. Click the back button on your controller. Select Manage Themes. I'm going to select Popular Themes. Now I can choose a theme to install. Each theme you select will have a preview for it. For this example, I'm going to go with my favorite, Unified Redux. Select Install and wait for the theme to download and install. Once it is done, you will get a message that it was installed successfully. This will take you to the theme-specific options where you can make further changes to your theme or select another one that was already installed. To change your theme, select your preferred theme and select Apply as Main Theme. It will then ask you if you want to reset all your platforms and playlists. For this example, I'll choose Yes. Press the back button to come out of the Options menu, and this will take you to the main screen where you can view your theme change. Now that everything has been set up with BigBox, you can set it up to start up as soon as you turn on your PC by going to Options, selecting General, and selecting Enable using BigBox as a Windows shell. You'll be given a warning screen letting you know certain Windows features will not be available if you choose to enable this feature. If you're not comfortable going this route, you can always use the setup that I showed earlier to boot BigBox during the startup of your PC. Once you have done that final step, you are pretty much set up for couch play on your gaming PC. As a reminder, these applications do not set up the controls for your individual games, as they are just used for launching and navigation purposes. I have two other tips for LaunchBox before I end this video. For RetroArch users, you may find that you want to use more than one core for a given system, and this can cause a bit of a problem because LaunchBox always picks the first core that you have listed for the preferred system. To get around this, you'll need to install another instance of RetroArch and also name it something different. So for example, if I'm using main with RetroArch for arcade games and I want some of my arcade games to run on the Final Burn Neo core, I would download a portable version of RetroArch, install it, and add it to LaunchBox with a different name like RetroArch-FB Neo. A bit of a hassle, but a workaround nonetheless. If you are into using PC game mods, you may be required to load certain files manually in order to get them to run. Of course, LaunchBox is only designed to launch the application, so you may have to create a batch file in order to use that mod. For this example, I'm going to set up LaunchBox to run Brutal Doom. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have all the necessary files needed to boot the game in the required locations and have already tested it to make sure it works per the instructions given. In this case, all the files needed to boot the mod are in one folder. Once those are in place, create a new text document. Now we just have to type in a command line that will essentially do everything you would have had to do manually in order to get the game to run. Once you have completed the command line, you want to save it as a game name .bat and make sure you placed it in the correct location for it to run. You want to run it first to make sure it's working properly. Once you have confirmed that it's working as expected, you can now add it to LaunchBox. Go to Tools in the top menu, hover over Import and select Manually Add Game. To see if there is metadata for the game, click on the title box, type in the game, and select Search for Metadata. If there is metadata available, it will appear underneath the name you just typed in. Selecting it should then auto-populate the given information in their respective places. Next, you can download images for the game by selecting Images under the Media section in the sidebar. Click Download Media located at the bottom right. This will bring up a new window where you can select the type of images you want to download. I'm going to leave everything checked and click on Download. Next, we'll go to the Launching section and in the Application Path section, select Browse located to the right. This will bring up File Manager so we can locate the batch file that was created to launch the game. Once the path has been generated in the box, select OK to close the window. Because the metadata already auto-populated the platform for us, we just have to go to Computers, and as you can see, the game has been added. Run it to make sure the game works and you're all set. Now maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, but all three of these applications can be used together. LaunchBox happens to be a BigBox plugin for KODI. You can add LaunchBox or BigBox to Steam Big Picture mode, and both Steam and LaunchBox can launch KODI as well, so there is really no limit to how you can set things up for your PC. Hopefully this video has put you on the right path to creating the couch potato setup that your heart desires. This video took a great deal of time to make, so if this video and others like it that I've created on this channel have been of any help to you, I ask that you please like the video and maybe even subscribe. Doing so gives me the motivation I need to create more videos like this one. For now, this is Corey, your entertainment techie, signing out.